Alrighty, what is up, YouTube? Today I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind recently that doesn't really get too much recognition, and that is the uniqueness of the villains in Dragon Ball Z. Now I know what you're thinking. What? The villains in Dragon Ball aren't even good. What are you talking about, Mondi? Hear me out, okay? I feel like after watching so much anime and TV shows, movies, etc., we just get into this pattern of like, okay, a good villain has to be smart. They have to have this complex backstory, and they have to be complex themselves and also have this very humane reason for doing what they're doing, etc. And I just get kind of tired of seeing villain after villain tell us, the audience, why they're doing what they're doing, and it just always comes out in this really corny exposition-y way. And I think something that Dragon Ball does really well, and now you could even consider very differently, because again, we're so used to this kind of sameness of villains like how I just described. What Dragon Ball does with its villains is that they're just villains. They're just them. Take Frieza for an example. Frieza is just an asshole. Like, he's one of the most iconic villains in anime, period, right? And I think he deserves to be one of the most iconic anime villains of all time, because he's just an asshole. He doesn't have this complex reason for being the way he is. He's just a fucking dick. And I love it. I love that. I feel like we're so used to seeing this exaggerated, personality. As someone who's been born into the world, always, losing, always on the side of evil, right? We get movies like Joker and just stuff like that, where it's like, okay, we have to just accentuate someone not being able to choose the side of good because of, society and life sometimes just doesn't let you be evil. It's like, nah, man, some people are just awful. Some people are just fucking awful. You've met them, I've met them, we've all met them. There's people in this world that are just dicks, that are just assholes for no fucking reason. They exist. We all know they exist. So why can't villains in media also just be assholes and just be villains because they want to be? You know what I mean? I think that that's something that Dragon Ball does, and it does well, and I want to praise it, because I feel like everyone always likes to hate on Dragon Ball and say, oh, there's no character development, the story's not deep, yada yada yada. Dragon Ball does have a simple story, but that's fine. What's wrong with that? Not every character has to be deep, not every story has to be complex. In my opinion, I'd argue that simple stories are better than complex stories. I mean, what's better about a story being harder to understand? Oh, it's complex, so now there's so much going on that it doesn't even get any of the points in the story across because there's too much to focus on. What's better about that? I mean, I get it. I know there's different types of readers, different types of watchers, different types of consumers, and some would appreciate more of a story that is more complex like that, where there's more to appreciate, there's more to dive into, etc. And then there's people that want something that's easier to understand and that they can follow easier and stay focused on the things that the story wants you to focus on a lot more easily. So it really just depends on the kind of consumer you are, and I get that. I totally get that. But again, I don't think that by calling a villain or by calling a character complex, that just automatically makes them better. By calling a story complex, that doesn't just make it better. Simple stories are great. Simple characters are great. And not everything has to be super in-depth and super fleshed out, because the thing is, a lot of the times when stories or characters have depth, quote unquote, it's usually stupid anyway. I mean, this is gonna be a little bit off topic, off track, if you will, but take a movie like Midsummer, right? Horror movie that came out a few years ago. everyone was hyping it up, saying it was great. And, me being in, the industry of film and having a lot of peers that are also into, film, stuff like that, we talk, we have things to say, right? But yeah, from a lot of my peers, everyone was giving this film credit for the depth that it had, right? A lot of the symbolism in the shots and the scene direction, stuff like that. But, it didn't really matter to me because, like, yeah, you can have all this depth behind what's going on, but it doesn't matter if, what's on the surface is so boring that I don't care to dive deeper, right? So, like, no matter what the story had going underneath it, I didn't care because the movie was so goddamn boring and, like, didn't really make sense in the first place to where I didn't want to explore deeper. It didn't make me feel like, oh wow, like I would really like to know what this meant or what that meant. It was just kind of like, okay, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't care. Whatever. I don't want to explore further. That's what I mean by when, something is complex, that doesn't necessarily make it better. So anyway, I think DBZ deserves some credit for sticking to its guns, especially with its story and its characters. And its simplicity, I think, helps. Now, with that being said, in terms of the DBZ villains, which ones do I enjoy the most? Which ones do I like the most? Which ones are my favorite? For starters, I have to go with Android 21, even though she's a in-game original villain for Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is an amazing game. But she wasn't technically part of the manga or the anime. I mean, she's definitely up there for me because, she's honestly what I've always wanted in the franchise, just in one character. Like, she is just a badass, good-looking female villain. And, I feel like, we've had like something like this with Android 18, right? She's badass, she's cool, like she's powerful, she looks good, but like, it's different because I feel like with Android 18, she was always with 17. And in the anime, it was always her, 17, and arguably 16, right? But, then there was that one future arc where it was just her and 17. But, she was always with someone else, right? Even with, like, her and Krillin, like, her character has kind of always been with someone else, right? We didn't really get that female badass villain like Frieza or Cell or Kid Buu, where, like, it's just one person. It's just one alien, one villain taking on everyone, right? Like Broly, it's like it's just Broly versus everyone. Like, he's that fucking powerful. We didn't get that with like a female, right? And I've always wanted like a female villain that can go toe to toe with Goku, Vegeta, and just take on the whole squad, like how a lot of the other villains in Dragon Ball do. So to see Android 21 kind of take that role and also look badass, and her powers and her moves and everything just look so cool, I was like, yo, this is awesome. And I love it, man. I love her. I would love to see her, like, I would love to see an arc with Android 21. That would be so sick, man. Like, to see that in the anime or the manga, man, that would be amazing to just see her brought to life, in anime form. So she's definitely up there for me, just for that reason alone. And I mean, also, you could argue Kefla, but I don't know, man. Kefla, like, I don't think she was really a villain per se, and I do appreciate her, as another, badass female in the series, in the franchise. But again, like, she wasn't really like a villain per se, and it was also, because it's Kefla, it's like two girls formed together, and we really just didn't get enough of Kefla or, the Saiyans from Universe 6, really, if I'm being honest. So, but yeah, Android 21 is definitely up there for me. I also really love Baby. Baby Vegeta was definitely originally my favorite Dragon Ball villain, like, period. Because the thing is, like, well, first off, when you compare the Dragon Ball villains, you've got like Frieza, who's just racist. You've got Cell, who's just like, the android version of Goku, where he just likes to blow shit up. And then, you've got Kid Buu, Majin Buu, who was just like, I don't know, man, like, they just, they don't really have a brain, they just blow shit up, whatever. And then, there's the androids who were just programmed to kill Goku, right? So in comparison to all that, Baby had an actual reason to like, want to kill Goku, because the Saiyans, destroyed his whole race, the Tuffles. And he was like, nah, I ain't about that life. I'm about to get revenge for my whole race. So he initially had that pretty solid reason, right, for wanting to come after Goku. And I know I said, like, villains don't have to have a reason and stuff for everything, but it was a little bit different for me, because when I watched it, like, in a way, you could almost see Baby as like the hero, right? Because he's, trying to avenge his whole race, right? And it made Baby stand out more. I think Dragon Ball villains as a whole don't need to have this complex reason, like in comparison to stories in general, but in terms of the Dragon Ball villains themselves, Baby stands out because he does have like a really good reason for doing what he did. So anyway, another thing that really fascinated me about Baby and Baby's arc and Dragon Ball GT in general, like, for those of you that don't know, I actually really like GT. I've always really liked GT, and it was kind of crazy how a lot of people hated it. Back in the day, everyone used to just hate GT and then love Dragon Ball Z, and then no one really ever talked about Dragon Ball. Now I feel like, people hate GT, but they also hate Super, and, I think, unironically, Dragon Ball is probably the most well-beloved. But anyways, one of the things that really fascinated me about Baby was that the way he went about getting revenge on Goku, I thought was so, like, just amazing. It was so different because, in comparison to like Cell, Majin Buu, Frieza, where they all kind of just wanted to destroy the planet and Goku has to defeat them and save the planet, Baby was a Tuffle, and he was this, parasitic creature, right? And so he would take over the minds and bodies of all the people on planet Earth and all of Goku's friends and family. So it got to a point where Goku could not harm Baby because Baby is controlling the bodies of Goku's family, his son, his wife, his closest friends. And it's like, okay, now if you want to harm Baby, you have to kill all these people that you love, because Baby's not only controlling all of their minds, but he's also controlling all of their bodies. So they are all fighting Goku, and he can't even fight back because, these are his closest friends, his family, his wife, and that was just so crazy for me to digest. When I first watched GT, I was like, wow, this is insane. Like, how is Goku gonna win? How is Goku gonna fight Baby? How is he gonna take down this parasitic alien when Baby has literally the entire world under his control? Like, Goku literally can't do anything. Like, even Baby Vegeta, like, Goku couldn't just like, kill Baby Vegeta because that's Vegeta's body. For him to do that, like, he would literally be killing Vegeta. And I don't think any of us expected that to be in Goku's itinerary. So, yeah, that was just one of the things that always amazed me about Baby and that whole Baby Vegeta arc. Also, the Super Saiyan 4 transformation was awesome, amazing, one of the best things about GT, and it's definitely, Super Saiyan 4 is my favorite transformation, hands down. The design is just insane, I love it. Honestly, the Baby arc and Super Saiyan 4 transformation alone is probably why GT is like my favorite Dragon Ball, if I'm being honest. But I love Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta too, that's a whole other thing. But yes, I think Baby's really cool. I like all his like moves too, like the Revenge Death Ball. I mean, that shit kind of, it makes me laugh when he says it, but it's like actually really dope. And yeah, I like Baby. I really like him, and I always thought that he was like the best villain originally. But now, time has passed. We got Android 21. It's kind of hard to decide. I love both of them so much. And if we're talking the big three, Frieza, Cell, and Buu, like the main iconic three villains of Dragon Ball Z, I would have to go with Cell as my favorite from the three, because I do think Frieza is, definitely the most iconic, and Buu obviously like was the strongest. Like, all three of them are cool, but I think like the reason why I liked Cell the most, well, for one, I think I've always liked Cell's design a little bit more than Frieza's and Boo's, even though I think all the designs are really cool. They have this really kind of obscure but unique like design to them, and it's just really cool to see, like, you know, Akira Toriyama make these crazy, you know, power hungry aliens. Like, it's just so cool, man. It's just so cool. Like, I think all the designs of the villains are still really cool to this day, of the original Dragon Ball Z, you know, Frieza, Cell, Kid Buu. I think they all just look so cool and very original. But anyway, what I liked about Cell, aside from design, because the design I thought was always really sick, you know, Cell just had the best arc, man. Cell just really had the best arc in Dragon Ball Z. I mean, and you know, it's crazy because a lot of people will say like Goku Black arc in Dragon Ball Super was like, you know, their favorite arc or like the best arc, but I think honestly the Goku Black arc is just the Cell arc but worse. And here's what I mean by that. Obviously they are different, very different, but I think that like the reason why people like the Goku Black arc is because, you know, there's a little bit of that mystery in the beginning, right? There's a little bit of like suspense, like, okay, who is this Goku Black? Like, why is there two Gokus? Like, what's going on, right? And it's all about figuring that out. But you know, that shortly kind of fades, and then you can kind of figure out the mystery already, and then, you know, it just becomes complete ass pulls and everything. But the Cell arc has that same level of mystery, if not better, in my opinion, because, you know, as soon as Cell enters the screen, you know, it's like, whoa, like, what is happening? Like, it's just such a mystery. You don't even really see Cell until like he's in the city, and then, you know, he's fighting Piccolo, I think. But the whole lead up to Cell's reveal alone was really, really good and well done and suspenseful, and, you know, just this whole idea of like, okay, what is Cell? What is this thing? What is this alien? You know, what is this? You know, why is there two time machines? Like, what's going on? Like, there was so much mystery, so much suspense, and it came at such a great time when the situation is already dire. The androids are already invading, attacking the Earth. Like, everything was just so like, oh my god, like, this is great. This is really, really great stuff. And then, you know, finally, like, we get this reveal of like what Cell looks like. But even then, you know, it was still like, oh my god, like, Cell, he can like copy people's energy, like, what's going on? Like, it was just so cool and so mysterious. And then, you know, Cell, we figure out, okay, Cell, we get perfect Cell, right? And then, you know, it's the Cell games, the tournament, and then everything with just Team Gohan. Everything was just really, really great stuff, man, all the way till the end, till Cell's death and everything. It was just wow, you know, just wow. So that's why I definitely like Cell the most. I have to give it to him. Also, like, I love the cockiness and like just the aura that Cell gives off. Like, the way he talks, the way he's just like and, you know, he's got that like, I am perfect, like, he's always talking about being perfect. I love that. I always loved that in the games too. You know, I feel like Frieza was just an asshole, but Cell is just like this like perfectionist, you know? It's in a way, it's kind of memey, but it's also like really just, I like it. I've always liked that. I don't know why, but I like that the most out of the three main villains from DBZ. So yeah, I'd have to give it to Cell on that one. I really do like Cell a lot. And I mean, of course, Cell has the best theme. Well, he definitely has the best theme of, you know, the three villains, but he has the best theme in all of Dragon Ball. I'ma just say it. If you just look up Dragon Ball Z Cell theme, you can see a list of remixes, like literally all of them are fire. But like, Cell's theme is just iconic, insane. It's pretty hard to contest with the Ultra Instinct theme. I'm not gonna lie, that is a banger, but Cell's theme came first, and man, it still slaps to this day. Like, that's crazy, bro. Cell's theme, I mean, I have to go with Cell. So yeah, I think those are my three favorite Dragon Ball Z villains, for sure. One thing I also want to mention is that, you know, because I've also talked about Broly and why I really like him, the original Z Broly, yes, why I really like his character, and I've mentioned that in other videos, but I've never really talked about Kid Buu, and, you know, I kind of wanted to talk about that because Kid Buu, has that same aspect that Broly does, where, you know, he's just very like kind of mentally unstable. And Kid Buu, like, you know, you see why they call him Kid Buu, because he has these very like kid aspects to him, and like people kind of undermined how sadistic and sinister that is, because at the time Kid Buu was, you know, like the strongest being in the universe, right? And he has like Zeno vibes, right? Where Zeno is just like a kid, but he can literally, you know, like control universes, galaxies in the palm of his hand. That's kind of how I felt with Kid Buu originally, where he was just like, it's almost like scary how kid-like he is, because, you know, in like the blink of an eye, he can just like want to destroy, you know, the planet. But then, like, you know, he also has this kind of like naive purity to him in a way, and it's like just very kind of interesting to me. You know, when villains like that have so much power, but then their mindset is so like, you know, immature. So, you know, that's one of the things I think that people don't really appreciate from not just Dragon Ball villains, but especially Kid Buu. So I kind of want to talk about that and mention that really quick. But I still think Cell is my favorite from like the main 3 villains in Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, anyway, Cell, 21, Baby, those are my favorite Dragon Ball villains. That's all I really wanted to say for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave a like on the video, it helps me out a ton. Subscribe if you haven't already for more content like this. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.